Think about how much information we're being bombarded with on a daily basis, right? All day long, TV, internet, our radio, our Spotify, our social media, our websites. It's like we're reading newsletters, we're reading emails, we're picking up phone calls, we're responding to DMs, we're texting back. So it's really important that in the process of because you're part of that chain somewhere, that your message stands out. And so the value proposition is unclear. I think a lot of people struggle with clarity and simplicity. I think a lot of people try to overcomplicate things and try to just...
Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to another knowledge bomb episode of Lead to Greatness, where we believe in helping us reach their greatest potential and together change the world. Today on Lead to Greatness, we have Deevo Tindall.
And if this is your first time, don't forget to subscribe. Hit that like button, hit the notification bell so you won't miss any of these amazing episodes. And if you're on iTunes, go ahead and rate the podcast and leave a review. That helps get the word out to great leaders and entrepreneurs like yourself.
Please help me welcome Deevo with Master Storyteller.
This is Cedric Francis, and you're listening to Lead to Greatness.
I'm a digital storyteller, or a storyteller at heart. That's what I've always been. I don't really know where it came from, but ever since I was a little kid, I've been telling stories. And as a father, I tell stories to my kids. And I've had a camera in my hand since I was 12 years old. And I've always seen photography at an early age as the ability to tell stories that people might not have the opportunity to see, or to preserve those stories for ourselves or for our friends or for our family. And so that's how I got into that space. I did the normal traditional route, went to college, got my degree, got married, built a white picket fence around my house, had 2 kids, 3.5 dogs, did all that stuff. And I did that for almost 15 years. But I was simultaneously doing my photography as well, just sort of like it's always been a passion of mine.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. In my corporate gig, I just was unfulfilled, and I had a bigger calling, and I just didn't really feel like I was making a difference in any way, shape, or form. I was a cog in the wheel, and I felt like I had bigger things in store for me, and I certainly wasn't able to focus on the things that I was really passionate about. So I packed my bags, put them on a stick, and stepped out into the street and just started walking, and I've never looked back. Today, I still own Fusion Photography. And then roughly 3 years ago, I launched a division of that, which is called Fusion Creative, which is a branding and marketing agency. And we help entrepreneurs and small business owners tell their stories. So I've taken full circle from starting my own storytelling to now helping other people do it. I first started off doing traditional photography. We're talking, I just call it traditional photography, weddings, engagements, storytelling photography, capturing people's essence and their love story. But I quickly started, for whatever reason, I started getting a lot of jobs for small businesses and entrepreneurs. And I noticed that I was taking their photographs, but they weren't doing anything with their photographs. So I was like, wait, am I a little bit disillusioned here about my quality? So I started checking in on everybody and saying,
Wow.
what's going on? I did these amazing photos for you last week, and I haven't seen them anywhere. I did these photos for you last month. I haven't seen them anywhere on social media. And people, long and short of it, were like, we don't know what to do with them. We don't really know.
Wow.
Once we have this content, and it was photo and video, we're not really sure what to do with it. So I saw this gap in the process, and I set out to try to fill that gap. So I created Fusion Creative so that we could take the content for you, shoot the photos for you, tell your story, but then we can not only manage that for you and share that through social media and website development, but the branding strategy, the cohesive, holistic strategy that teaches you how to tell your story so that you can connect with the right audience. So this version of Fusion Creative has been through several iterations. I'm not embarrassed to say we went through a couple of different versions to try to find what the secret sauce was, and learned a lot of lessons along the way. But it was an aha moment. Like, I saw the writing on the wall, and I'm like, this is how we can fix this. I already have the knowledge. I already have the passion. I have all the tools at my disposal. Now, how do we go about selling that service and providing a value so that our clients can readily see that?
Yeah. Man, that's awesome. That's awesome. So how did you from A to Z, how did you put that together? Like your niche with the gap and where you were?
it was really a lot of trial and error and poking the bear and just sort of
Okay.
seeing what worked, what didn't work, what resonated with our clients, and then from our side, what were our passions? Like, what were the things that we were really good at? And so, what I really quickly realized is that I couldn't do all things. As a photographer, you can sort of be a Swiss Army knife and run your business as a solopreneur. Although I haven't done that, I've built a team around me as well. But I quickly realized that if I'm going to take this elevated level in this, and it really is, it's an elevated level from a solopreneur photographer to now an agency where we're managing $1 million businesses that are trusting us to tell their story. I
Yeah.
set out to build a team, and that was really the first thing I had to do, is find people who were qualifiably better than me at a lot of things, and then surround myself with people like that so that we could build this business. So from social media managers to website builders to branding insight people, so people who understand like the way all of this stuff works, and then we just started working together as a unit, and that's kind of how it all began.
That is amazing. That is amazing. On your website, your homepage, the videos on the homepage was telling the story. What was your approach in creating such an amazing narrative?
Well, I think it's always been part of what I've done as photography. I sort of see storytelling as meeting clients where they are,
Mm,
and then understanding what they bring to the table, whether it's a wedding or a branding content shoot. Everybody has their own story, right? And everybody's
yeah.
good at something, and everybody is looking to solve some sort of a problem. And so for us, it really starts with understanding what that is, the vision, what's the objective of whomever we're working with. Again, whether it's an engagement story or a brand, at the crux of that, everybody needs to tell their story, and they need to tell it in an indispensable way that quickly shows their audience that they're here to solve a problem, that they can
Mm,
fix something, they can solve something, they can create something, and whatever it is, it's your magic secret sauce. And so for us, it's about getting to the sort of the core, the systemic core, like a doctor and a therapist. I always joke, like, come into my office and lay down on the sofa and let's talk, so that I
yeah.
can figure out like what's the root of the problem here, what is you trying to accomplish. And so and then we take that almost in a scientific way. We break that down and we look at all the touch points along the customer journey, and we say, okay, if this is the customer's journey from A to Z, where are the points that we can inject storytelling without actually showing or selling and solving a problem? And then in so doing, you end up selling because you connect with the right target audience. So it's really all about the customer journey, and then injecting pieces along that way that will touch on an emotional level the viewer who's watching it. So sort of like you were compelled when you saw it, there was something emotional in that space that you're like, that is what I'm looking for. And so our job is to find what is that everyone's looking for, and then tell that story without being in your face selling all the time. And that's the problem. It's like, don't sell, serve first, sell second. That's sort of like the philosophy we take.
I want you to dig into that because I believe a lot of times entrepreneurs make that big mistake in trying to always thinking about selling, selling, selling. But you just said sell the story. I want you to kind of dig into that, maybe some lessons around that thought on why is that important and why should we focus on storytelling and not the sell.
Well, first of all, there's more than you who is typically doing the same thing. So it's
Mm,
really important that you can qualify what you do, why you do it, how you do it, but most importantly, what's the problem that you solve in the process of all of that, right? Because
mm,
people are really only in this for like, what's in it for me, right?
yeah,
Most consumers just want to know, what can I get out of this transaction? Why would I want to give you my time, my energy, my money? And what am I going to get in exchange for that? And so it's
yeah,
really important that as business owners, that we really hone in on those core elements, the what, the why, the who, but most importantly, what problem do we solve? And once you can break that down and understand that, and once you and your team are clear on it, you're more inclined to speak to that and tell the right cadence, the right story, the right solution to the right audience. So what it does is it enables you to talk to the very specific person in your native tongue, if you will.
yeah.
Instead of trying to talk to everybody, you're speaking to a very specific person that's looking for your solution. And what's crazy today, because we have social media, dude, we're freaking smart consumers. Like, and people know whether you're smoking mirrors or if you're the real deal. And so,
Yeah.
and because we're so smart and we have so much information at our fingertips, if you're not telling me the right message, or if you're not capturing my attention, I'm thumbing on to the next cat right away. And so it's
Yeah.
really important that your message has, it's an overused word, but it's really true. How do you show up genuinely and authentically, and how can you connect with someone on an emotional level?
Wow, 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 wow. That's a knowledge bomb. You're really kicking some knowledge. What are some common mistakes? Companies, when they're getting ready to, getting to storytelling or branding, what are some common mistakes you see business owners or you see teams make?
Not being clear on their value proposition, first and foremost, not
Okay.
being clear on exactly what they're here to do, and trying to do everything all at once. And
Mm.
what happens is they bombard their audience with all of these different things, and the consumer gets buyer confusion. I'm not really sure. Are you selling me this? Are you selling me that? Are you selling me everything? And what happens is, like, it's not to say that you can't scale. I'm not saying you shouldn't scale, but I'm saying if you're a new business owner and you're an entrepreneur, or you're a small business and you're struggling to connect with your audience, there's probably one of several things. You're not connecting emotionally with their audience. You're not touching those heartstrings that compels them to give you their time. Remember that resource exchange? It's like your bank account. We all only have so much that we can give our attention to. And if I'm always constantly being pulled at by all these, because think about how much information we're being bombarded with on a daily basis, right? All day long, TV, internet, our radio, our Spotify, our social media, our websites. It's like we're reading newsletters, we're reading emails, we're picking up phone calls, we're responding to DMs, we're texting back. So it's really important that in the process of because you're part of that chain somewhere, that
Yeah.
your message stands out. And so the value proposition is unclear. I think a lot of people struggle with clarity and simplicity. I think a lot of people try to overcomplicate things and try to just throw a whole bunch of stuff at people in hopes of impressing them. But that all that stuff gets lost in the shuffle. And it's like, okay, what are you actually selling me here? What is it you actually want me to do here? Give me a reason, compel me to have some sort of an activity here on whatever it is you're trying to sell me to. And so if you can use storytelling in that space, you become relevant, you become emotional, you provide conflict and resolution. You show the problem, and then I present a solution. And people just want things. We're in this society where we have instant gratification. We have everything at our fingertips. So we want our solutions to be solved right at our fingertips. So the more you can simplify that, you'll make yourself more relevant, and you make yourself more emotional.
Knowledge bomb. You're kicking some knowledge, and I'm definitely really appreciating this. And I know the audience is getting better and more advanced already for what you're sharing with us. Let's talk about Fusion Creative. What makes your company stand out from all the other companies in your niche?
Well, I don't know that we stand out from all the other companies. I think we have a very specific audience that we target to. We're very,
Okay.
very specific on who we're looking to do business with.
Mhm.
And from our standpoint, we're very clear on our value proposition. We know our audience. We know what we bring to the table. We know what we're capable of, and we know that we have a systematic, scientific, and pragmatic and artful creative process that solves people's problems. And so the if there was a distinction to make between two companies that do the exact same thing we do, I would say that we have a differentiation because of the strategy that's involved, the creativity that's involved, the holistic approach we take. So
Mhm.
for us, we start from the beginning, and there's a brand discovery that is very scientific and broken down so that we're very clear on what it is you're trying to accomplish with your business. And then we take that strategy and we transpose it into content creation, photography, video, storytelling, and then we manage that for you so that you don't have to, so you can focus on the things that you're great at. And so that's what we do. We position ourselves as a marketing partner, a branding partner, so that you can focus on the things that you do great. But I think for the differentiation for me is, the good Lord has blessed me with the left brain and a right brain, and I have a good balance of that. And so
Yeah.
every project I take on is a pragmatic, principled approach, but then I mix in intuition and creativity with it, and art and all those pieces, and those just come together and create magic. You want to create a problem so that you can solve the problem in your storytelling. And so if you follow good storytelling tactics, there's always a hook, there's always conflict, and there's always resolution. It's character driven. There's visual imagery that goes along with it. There's a consistency to everything you say and do. You don't want to say that you believe in one thing over here on one day or espouse to be over here on this personal philosophy, and then the next day you're saying something else. Remember the buyer confusion. So you want to be very purposeful and consistent about what it is you're doing, and then always give people a reason to follow up with you. I was talking to a photographer today, and she's like, nobody ever responds to this. Nobody ever does. I was like, what's your call to action? And she's like, call to action, what do you mean? I'm like, are you asking your client or your reader or somebody to do something about it? So people like questions. They want to be charged with doing something. Make me as a reader of your story responsible for doing something after I've read this story. Do you like this story? Give us a call. Just click the submit button. Just do something. Fill out this short form. Answer these 5 questions. We have a quiz. I don't know if you got to do the quiz when you were on our website that sort of breaks down where you sit in the branding and marketing world and sort of like what's your prowess. But it's really great because it's fun, it's engaging, and then it's pragmatically, scientifically driven, so you can quickly see where do you stand in terms of your marketing and branding. And people love that because people love taking quizzes, but it gives them something to do while they're sitting there fidgeting. They're not just being sold and bombarded with information. And then we collect that information and we see, okay, you scored this. What can we do with this? How can we reposition that and remarket back to our client and share their story with them through the process that we do? One of the things that we see with social media most of the time, and I was having this conversation today with my business coach, I think a lot of people have mistaken social media for social selling. First of all, it's not social selling, and the algorithm has changed so much that it's really only rewards people who are actively playing the game. And part of the game is to engage with people, be social with people. And so part of the engagement problem we have right now is you're up against a massive number of people that are doing exactly what you're doing. And if you're being inconsistent in that regard, then you sort of get pushed to the bottom of the pile.
Yeah.
But consistent doesn't mean you have to post 17 times a day. Consistent means that you have to be consistent in what you're doing and how you're doing it, right? That's how Instagram looks at it, or any social media algorithm for that matter. They just want to know that if you're going to play by the rules, then play by the rules that are consistent and by your own book. That means you regularly need to show up in some way, shape, or form, even if it's just posting once a week. But more than that, you have to engage with other accounts. You have to go out and be social. You have to comment on other people's. You have to send people DMs. You have to actively engage. And one of the biggest mistakes I see all the time is I'll go onto your website or your social media and I'll drop you a comment or a DM and you don't respond to it. And if you're an entrepreneur, especially a small entrepreneur, and you don't have a big following or a big presence on social media, that is like nails in the coffin. Because if you're not taking the time to respond to one of your potential clients, A, you're losing an opportunity to connect with a potential client. That's revenue. But B, you're telling this individual who took the time to go to your feed, drop you a comment, take the initiative to say something to you that you don't matter. I don't care about your voice. I'm too busy. And so you're losing out on a massive opportunity to engage with somebody in a one-on-one capacity that are taking the time. So that's the first piece. Wrap your head around that. And then the second piece, don't overcomplicate it. It's not like I have to have this complicated science-based approach. It's really just engaging with people. If you and I are in a room right now, right? If we were having coffee together in Houston, if you were to ask me a question, I wouldn't just turn around and walk away, right? And vice versa. Like we would sit in here and have this conversation, right? And then if you liked what we were saying, we'd make a follow-up plan. Be like, dude, I'm going to be at the courts on Sunday. Come out, let's ball. Or I'd love to meet you for another follow-up next week for coffee. This was fantastic. Or man, you should come on my show next week. I have a show that I host just like you do. It's brilliant. We do this. But what you're doing is you're engaging in that symbiotic conversation with somebody and inviting them. You're peeling back your covers and you're inviting them to take a step into which is just relationship building. Come into my house and play with me. That's all you're asking. You're just saying, I'm giving you the opportunity to ask me a question, or I'm giving you the opportunity to give me your feedback. And what that opens is that just opens the door for rapport.
Ouch, you're stepping on my toes. And this is good. This is good. This is really helpful. I mean, the DMs, I mean, I don't always get that right myself, but I'm listening. And I think it was a great example you shared. You know, you're going out in public at the coffee shop, or if you're at Walmart or anywhere else. I mean, if you're somewhere and someone talks to me, or I speak to someone, they ignore me. I mean, you're like, it's kind of over with. It's over with. You know.
Yeah, you're a 24/7 walking billboard, and in today's day and age, with social media and your website and email and all the digital tools that you have on your tool belt to connect with people, you're doing yourself a disservice by not utilizing them, because you're just leaving opportunities on the table. And if you're not playing in those sandboxes and just connecting with people, you're just, I mean, I can't tell you how big of a disservice you're doing to yourself. You just need to find a way to make it happen, really, ultimately.
What is if you was to come up with three strategies on top of? I mean, it's really a hard question for me because man, you already dropped like 4 or 5 nuggets on us already. But if you have about three more nuggets to share about the storytelling and branding piece, what would you say?
So I think first and foremost, know your audience.
Mhm.
Know who your audience is. It's really critical that you take a look at your data and understand who's following you, because if you're not targeting the right type of people and you don't have the right type of people that are in your space, you might want to take a look at, like, what am I saying? What's the brand message I'm putting out there first and foremost? So understand your audience, and what's more important in that phrase is, what are their needs? What are their desires? What are their pain points? And then tailor your stories to expound and resonate with their experiences and their aspirations. Stop telling stuff from your perspective. Tell things from your audience's perspective. It's really important to understand, what do they want out of the equation. So unless you're buying your own product every day, you need to think about who's buying my product and who would use this, right? So if you are into fancy red cars that go high speed, I'm probably not going to talk about trains and something else. I'm going to talk about something that's in line with the things that you really love. And so what happens when you understand your value and the problems that you solve, you're able to speak to the right type of audience and attract the right audience so that your language is already in their lexicon. I think the next piece of that is really understand your core message. I have a running workshop I do once a month. It's called crafting your 30-second elevator pitch. And in that 30-second elevator pitch, it's not just a physical elevator pitch when you're you know, physically with somebody. It's your website language, it's your email language, it's your voicemail, it's what you say when you first meet people and they ask you what you do. And so that's your core message. What is my message? What's the key takeaway or the key lesson that I want my audience to remember me by when they engage with me? Right. And you can really come up with a few things. Like, it's really important. Just make a list of, like, these are the things I'm really good at. These are the things I have a lot of knowledge on. These are the things that I can solve problems with. And then take all those three things like a formula and put them together and just craft out some simple sentences. I love telling people stories so they can connect with their right audience. I love using social media to build relationships with people, so I teach other people how to do the same thing. And so what happens in that process is, the more you kind of understand and refine that core message, the more you're able to connect with the right type of audience. And then I guess the number third thing is, use relatable characters in your story. So, like, reflect on your audience's traits or aspirations. And what happens is that emotional connection, it builds this empathy and it makes your story more engaging, because when you know your audience and you know your message, you're able to speak a relatable language to them that is resonant and connects with them. And, like, we all, like, I don't know if you're married or you've got best friends, like, think about the common bond between your partners, your homies, your children, like anybody you hang out with, the favorite people you've had on podcasts, like who, just think about, think about all the different elements that make up those people, right? There's always like a common thread, right?
Yeah.
Right? There's always one common thread. And in that common thread, you build on that. You use that as, like, that's the heartstring. That thread is the heartstring. You and your partner connected this way. You and your friends, you and your boys connected this way. Like, all of those things have a common thread. Well, your social audience is the same way. There are common threads in everything you say and do, and that's ultimately what's going to get them to connect with you and build the relationship with them first. Again, solve problems, sell second. Solve problems, sell second. Never sell up front.
Knowledge. Boom. Really, really good. I want to kind of shift back to Fusion Creative. What are some of the things that you're working on? What are some of the things that you have lined up? Like, what's next?
Well, right now I'm working on a book, so I'm working on that. I'm actually taking a combination of everything that I've ever dispensed on podcasts and social media, and I'm distilling that down into a common thread, and I'm writing a book on that. I'm also getting geared up for this coming year. I have a pretty robust schedule of keynote lectures and workshops, so I've got almost one a month. So I'm gearing up for that. And then on the Fusion Creative side, we're actually creating some new products that will enable our clients to have a more effective and robust social media presence, in sort of empowering them to sort of manage some of their own social. I'm a firm believer in educating your team and educating your clients, because, some people would say, hey, that would sort of make you dispensable. And if you teach them how to manage their social media, they wouldn't need you anymore. I think just the opposite. When you teach people to understand where you're coming from and you give them sort of the keys to the kingdom, which they already have in the first place because you're working for them, you empower them to be on your same page.
Yeah.
And so you enable them to sort of understand where you're coming from. And so instead of sort of like keeping everything, oh no, we're over here, we're managing it, we like to educate. So I do workshops with all of my clients on like, this is what we're focusing on this week. This is what we need your team to do. This is why we're doing it. So you're on the same page and understand. So yeah, that's just a few of the core of the things we're working on right now.
You say the workshops in person, online? How is that done? Virtually?
All the above. All the above. I do physical workshops, physical keynotes, and then we have online workshops and webinars, LinkedIn Lives, Instagram Lives. Weekly, we have stuff that goes out.
Okay, cool. How could the Lead to Greatness community connect with that, or how does that work?
You can find me on Instagram or LinkedIn, and it's Fusion Photog. I will be changing that handle shortly, but that's the legacy handle that's been around for almost 15 years. And then on our website, it's fusioncreativebranding.com. I quickly learned that the fastest way to grow anything is community. And if you take a look at us as humans, we're community-based creatures. We've always been community-based creatures. And to separate us is a disservice because it keeps us away from each other's helping each other, accountability for each other, emotional growth, stimulation, accountability, things that come when you become a better version of yourself. They're usually because you're surrounding yourself with people that are inspiring you, that are making you more than what you are. So like there's a scripture in the Bible, when two or more are gathered in his name, and really what the ethos of that statement is that when two or more people come together that are in an alignment energy, there's powerful things that go on, like
absolutely
crazy things that go on. It's like you and I are having this conversation right now, and the fact that we're connecting and talking about things, and hopefully you got a couple of pieces of wisdom that you're gleaning from my ramblings, and you're like, but you wouldn't have had this had you not had this community conversation, right?
Absolutely.
And so all of your listeners the same way. Every time they tune into your show, it's because you're building a community of people who are bringing insights that you didn't know or they didn't know, and they're learning from them. And so it's community over competition in every situation. I no longer believe in competition. I think it's bad for society. I think it's good inherently for humans to sort of learn how to be continuous and build tenacity and resilience and those sorts of things, and like playing sports and that sort of stuff. It's not the same thing. But when you want to build something and you want to achieve ultimate greatness, that starts with surrounding yourself with people who are doing greater things than you are. It's like you're a byproduct of the 5-6 people that you surround yourself with the most. So if you're hanging out with horrible people, they're going to sort of drag you down, right? And that's still community, but it's bad community, but it's still community. But if you surround yourself with amazing people, it's like, dude, I want to do what he's doing. I want that. And you just become like this aligned vehicle that's just moving forward and compounding in all these different ways. And so for me, it's all about community. Surround yourself with people that are amazing. Do podcasts, connect with people on social media. That's all I use social media for. I have never in my life seen anything in my existence where you have a chance to connect with 8.5 billion people on the planet to potentially do something with, right? So just get out there and start doing it, but don't sell to them. Connect with them, build something with them. So that's, for me, like that's at the cornerstone of everything we do. Community over competition.
I love this. Right above your head, I see your name, then I see Chief Experience Officer. That is brilliant. That's brilliant. Where did that idea come from?
I sell experiences. That's what we do. We don't sell photography. We don't sell video. We don't sell branding. We create experiences so that you can live within the experience of your own paradigm and do whatever you want to do with it. I create experiences for my clients. I created an opportunity for you to grow. I provide you strategy. I provide you the content. I show you how to do it. We embrace that with you and manage it for you. And it's our job to just create an experience. That's all we do. I don't want you to be sold to. I want you to have an experience with me. I want you to walk away and be like, holy cow, that was amazing. That's what I want. That's all I do. So it's at the core of everything we are.
On behalf of the Lead to Greatness community, I want to thank you so very much for taking time out of your busy schedule and adding value to us all.
I appreciate the opportunity to be here, man. It's been a great show and a good conversation. It's really refreshing to be able to just sort of sit here and connect and have a conversation with genuine authenticity. Yes. So thank you, Cedric. I really appreciate that.
We want to thank you for joining us today on the Lead to Greatness podcast. So remember, if you help others reach their greatest potential, together we can change the world. Peace.